Ooh, super spooky and scary video today. Jumping ghoulies and dancing skeletons. Ooh. Look, I'm making up for the fact that last year's Halloween video, I had a bit of a lackluster costume, so I made a little bit more effort this time, hopefully. But today we're talking about something completely unrelated to pirates. We're talking about Dr. Death, and why this man is so incredibly terrifying. Hello! Welcome to Brainspill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and today we are talking about one of the most evil men to ever exist, Dr. Death. Harold Shipman was born on the 14th of January 1946 in Nottingham, England, where he grew up and studied medicine at the University of Leeds, graduating in the year 1970. He began working at Pontefract General Infirmary and in 1974 took his first position as a general practitioner, or a GP, at a medical centre in Todmorden. Now, this all sounds relatively normal for somebody that had a regular upbringing, became a doctor, and then started working on their career. However, Harold Shipman's a little bit different, mainly because he eventually turned out to be a serial killer. No one quite realised that until way too late, mind you. As many of you are probably aware, a doctor is meant to swear a Hippocratic oath when they become a doctor, an oath that they will do no harm and that they will do what is best for the well-being of the patient. However, Shipman would soon become known as the most prolific serial killer in modern history, with an estimated 250 victims. So, what happened? After having worked in the profession for some time, he developed his own practice in 1993. He developed a reputation among the patients in the local community as a good and helpful physician. He was renowned for his bedside manner. As well as many people coming into his practice, he would often actually go out and visit many of the patients in their own homes. And for some strange reason, these patients would miraculously die of unknown causes a few days later. I mean, at the time it was few and far between, so nobody really drew any parallels. It was probably just unfortunate that the good doctor wasn't able to do enough to help them. But then a pattern started forming, and then things got a little bit more serious a lot more quickly. Yeah, I'm really letting the whole Halloween vibes get the best of me. His first victim was actually a little bit before the year 1975, when he had enough diamorphine to kill a 70-year-old patient, Eva Lyons. The practice of over-medicating his victims was done again and again and again, with various stops and starts throughout his career. He would target the vulnerable, with the oldest victim being 93 years of age, being an Ann Cooper, and the youngest a 41-year-old called Peter Lewis. So effectively, he would just overdose his patients with diamorphine, either to kill them on the spot, or that they will die slowly after his departure. Either way, it's not a good way to go. In all, it was estimated that he'd killed around 71 patients while working at the Donnybrook practice, which is insane, and you can imagine that a few people might unfortunately die whilst in the care of a doctor. But when you've got this many happening, it does make you raise a few questions. Many questions. So many questions, in fact, it does make you wonder how nobody even spotted this earlier, and how the hell he was able to get away with this for so long. So yes, where were the checks and balances? In order to get an explanation as to why he potentially did this, many experts claimed that this was perhaps a fascination behind his, from the fact that the Shipman's mother had morphine injections when she had lung cancer. This seems like a potential link to his exposure and decision to do this, but there are certainly still many unanswered questions. This almost addiction-like behaviour from Shipman first raised eyebrows once the undertakers noted that the rate of deaths who were former patients of Dr. Shipman would be very high in comparison to, well, any other medical professional. The undertakers therefore reported their concerns to the local coroner, and then the Greater Manchester Police were called. So yes, great, the authorities have been alerted, they can do an investigation, and then hopefully they might be able to track down and figure out what is going on. The undertakers did the right thing. However, the problem was that despite the fact that they were notified of their concerns, nothing was really done about it, and the police kinda just dropped it. Well, to be exact, the police said that they were unable to find sufficient evidence to bring charges against Shipman and effectively closed their investigation. The reason why no evidence was found, however, was due to the fact that the police did such a piss-poor job and didn't even do the most basic checks against Shipman, such as failing to check if he had a criminal record or even look at his medical files with the medical board. The things that you'd probably expect most people would check first if a doctor was accused of killing people. Yes, this is pretty surprising in itself, but you know what, we can't lay the blame entirely on the police, mainly because our man Shipman was particularly cautious with how he went about his business, and every time someone died because of his overdoses, he would always go back and try and cover his tracks, such as trying to make up fake illnesses or reasons as to why they died, to try and hide the fact that he had killed them himself. This would make it appear that the deaths were far more natural unless somebody had a keen eye on what was going on here. The investigation found nothing, and the police did nothing more. So, Shipman, being given a get out of jail free, carried on, and yeah, he was able to get away with it for quite a bit longer. It was at this point, however, where perhaps he tried to go a little bit too bold and attempted to forge the will of one of his victims, leaving everything to himself in 1998. The daughter of the victim was notified of this by her lawyer, who reported this to the police once again. The victim's body was subsequently exhumed in the August of 1998, and, lo and behold, diamorphine was found in her muscle tissues. Shipman was arrested soon after and was charged after finding multiple other victims who had been exhumed and discovered the same fate. At the time, Shipman was only charged with the murders of 15 people. It is estimated that the total victims at the hands of Shipman were anywhere between 250 and 450 victims. That is mind-boggling. On the 31st of January 2000, Shipman was found guilty of the murders of 15 patients under his care. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and took his own life a few years later on the 13th of January 2004, whilst in HM Prison Wakefield. Given the fact that Shipman completely refused to work with jurors or prison staff or lawyers or anything, does raise a number of questions as to what his true motives were behind this and why on earth he did it in the first place. I mean, some people just presumed he was a cold-blooded killer, and I think on the surface of it, you can't really argue with that, but maybe there's more to it that we just don't know, and perhaps we'll never know. There is an alternative line of argument, however, in that people think that perhaps he did this in order to show compassion to his patients, and offered them an easy way out of whatever ailments they may have had. So yes, whatever his intentions were, that doesn't change the fact that he was very aptly named Dr. Death. So yeah, that was this very spooky episode of Brainspill today. Like I said, I wanted to dress up for the occasion, and I was going to dress up as something a little bit scarier, but hey, just pretend I'm a ghost pirate or something. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.